recording. And I'm just going to talk a little bit more about how insane it is to consume alcohol. It really makes absolutely no sense. Now, keep in mind that the person that's saying this is a person that drank for about 42 years. I don't remember, actually I remember the circumstances of my first drink. And it was when I was a senior in high school in Peru. And the control mechanisms as far as selling alcohol, it wasn't as strict as it is here in the United States. So it was easy to get, and we got a chata, a pint, a half pint, I don't even know which one it was, but I chugged it, and I fell on my knees immediately. I started laughing. I really didn't drink anything else for the rest of the evening that I can remember. And that was 18 or so. But again, the critical note is that it simply makes no sense to consume it at all, because it is a chemical agent. It's the same chemical agent, ethyl alcohol or ethanol. That's the chemical agent that is used in gasoline. It's used to industrially create antibacterial creams, what have you. Ethyl alcohol, ethanol. The same thing that people drink is the same thing that's put in gasoline to improve combustion. There is no aspect of our overall nature that says our bodies need or require or benefit from consuming alcohol. There is zero benefit. Actually, you lose right away. Right away. Now, it doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to die, but I can see how it impacts people. Most of the people that I know drink. I can see they have no energy, very little. They have very little motivation. And I see myself, because like I said, I drank for 42 years. And sometimes when I say that, people think it's something very, like I was like a complete alcoholic. No, I was a social drinker. There were times when I would get up in the morning and, go to a bar or whatever. That is rare. More were the occasions where it's a social gathering and I just got out of hand, in so many different ways. It depends on the drink. And I was very adventurous. There was no drink that I didn't like, except maybe moonshine. I thought moonshine was kind of crazy. And I can't read, and I don't know why I'm having this problem answering people. It's probably the setting that I have to look at. That's okay. Just know that I kind of see you there and, acknowledge and thank you for being here, I guess. And I'm just kind of, outdoors, thinking a little bit about just how bizarre drinking alcohol is. But this is what's actually scarier about this, is that the amount that alcohol sales, jobs, everything that alcohol does is kind of contributes to the economy, or the gross domestic product, if you will, is about $250 billion. The government has known since 1988 that alcohol is a type 1 carcinogen, meaning that if you do drink and you get cancer, it's because of the alcohol. Doesn't mean that you definitely get alcohol cancer. You may not. But the more you drink, and you're increasing. And it's not like cancer is the only problem that you can get from alcohol consumption. I mean, you're shutting down your system. Why would we want to shut down our system? Doesn't it make us more vulnerable? Doesn't it make us more prone to attacks, to theft, to being abused? Of course it does. You know, and we've been sold an idea that it's harmless, and it's not harmless at all. It's very dangerous. And I can think of all the times I really am amazed that I'm still alive, considering some of the idiotic things that I've done. But of course, they couldn't be anything but, because when you consume alcohol, the reasoning part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, and the frontal cortex, those things get incapacitated. You lose motor skills. You lose the ability to think, to rationalize, and you rely more on your emotions. That's why, talk to a drunk. I mean, they're very stubborn and very emotional, and they're not reasoning. They're just stuck in a place, in an emotional place in their head, and the only thing they can do is keep repeating that emotion. But there's nothing. The critical thing is there's nothing in the body that says I need alcohol. Nothing. I've smoked crack. That's addictive. The minute you smoke crack, you finish it and you want more. Cocaine, the same thing. I mean, you finish, you have it, and then you want more. Alcohol is not really the same. I mean, we drink more just simply because it's easy to drink, not because it does something immediately to us. In fact, the effects are, it takes a while to really kick in. But more than anything, we're shutting our system down, and the more alcohol we drink, the more we shut it down until, the scariest thing is when you're in a blackout. And I've had several of those, and those are, you see people the next day and say, "Whoa, you were hilarious," and it's just, I saw you last night. That's not good. That's not good. I mean, I've crossed, 3-lane roads in a blackout. That's why I say I'm very, very fortunate to have, to made it this far. I can think of so many things. But again, the government, they would rather maintain the status quo, meaning, maintain the economy and keep things rolling and have people do jobs, rather than say, hey, it doesn't make sense to consume alcohol. You shouldn't consume alcohol, and if you do, you're putting your life at risk, and it's very serious stuff. Now here they're, focused on vaccines and what have you, when, the most obvious killers are alcohol and tobacco, but the government has an agency, is alcohol, tobacco, and guns, or whatever they're called. All three things. I'm actually now of the thought, and of course, I didn't think this before, but knowing what happened to me and knowing the environment that I was in, if your parents smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol and you're a young kid, that's sort of a abuse. That's a passive form of abuse, because the kid is seeing, okay, well, this is normal behavior, and then next thing you know, 18-year-old, 19-year-old homeless and drunk in the street and what have you. It's all, that's the sort of the passive grooming that takes place. There can be active grooming, where somebody is actually rewarding us or punishing us for specific behavior, or it's just a silent grooming where we get rewarded but not directly or immediately. We just, it's the social contact, the joy of happiness, or what have you, that goes along with that. But it's just not necessary, and I feel really bad when I, see people in bars, and it's such a bizarre scene, that I'm in a bar drinking stuff that's used in gasoline, a chemical agent that has no medical benefits at all whatsoever, none, zero. To even call it, I heard, what's his name? I think it was Massey. I don't pay. When he lost his election, the guy from Kentucky, he he said, I'm gonna. He said something about a medical margarita or something like that. There's no such thing. That's how we think about this, you know. So, oh, I'm sad, so I'm going to drink myself into unconsciousness, and you know, and then it'll get better the next day. Or I ran into a kid earlier, you know, a young man, I should say. He wasn't a kid, and he was having a beer, and you know, and he said something to me. And nowadays, the thing that I say whenever somebody says to me, "How are you doing?" I say, I'm doing great, even if I'm not. And a lot of people respond very interestingly to that. And then I tell them, you know, positive affirmations are very important. And if I say I'm great, you know, just at the same time, I'm going to be realistic, you know. And what I mean by that really is physically, emotionally, psychologically, my health overall, I'm doing fantastic. But it's my surroundings, the people that I have to deal with on occasions, that's the not so great part, you know. But the good news, as I explained, is that because I am in good spirits, because I am enjoying good health, and I move around a lot and I do things, it makes it easier for me to manage those negative situations. Whereas if I were weaker because I'm consuming alcohol, and that's actually the one thing that I mentioned to this young man, is that he apologized to me because he said to me, "How you doing?" And I said exactly what I just said now. And then I kind of walked by him, and he said, so he apologized. There was just no reason to apologize. He says, you know, he thought that he had offended me. And I said, I don't get offended, really. I mean, I don't even. There's no reason for me to get offended. I know you don't know what you're talking about. So there's no. Whatever you say, it just kind of rolls off my back. And he was actually very appreciative. And then, you know, and he was saying, you know, I'm just sorry, I'm a real negative person, and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I said, hey, you know, it doesn't help you there. And I kind of pointed at the beer and said, you know, it's a neurotoxic. So it's a neurodepressant. It's a neurodepressant. You're not going to feel better by drinking beer. You know, you're just not. Or any kind of alcohol. You're just not going to feel better, especially the next day. So, you know, I will continue to say this as much. And here's another thing, as far as gun control goes, I don't think anybody that drinks alcohol should own a gun, because I mean, the danger is obvious. Anybody who drinks at any point in time, because their cognitive abilities are already compromised. Even when you're not drinking, if you're a habitual drinker, your brain has already been rewired. There's already something else routing. We don't realize this, but we are the sort of the architects and the engineers of our own downfall, with a lot of times with our negative speech or you know, our behavior, self-defeating behavior. And it's just so strange. But you know, it just makes me feel sad for people and friends that do it. And so even smart people say, well, you know, if I moderately, no, because there's no reason. What is the reason for it? You know, there is no good reason. There's none whatsoever. Anyway, I think I've run out of things to say right now. It's just, no, the moon's over there, just staring at me straight, right up there. That's kind of cool. Just over the roof. And I'm in the Mills district. And right behind me is a very cool coffee shop that's called Craftworks. I just can't remember the name. It's right on the corner of Mills and whatever. No, it's a really cool place. They have cool people. They have some good foods. One of the best vegan breakfast sandwiches that I ever had. So delicious. You know, they're just very cool, very nice people that work here. It's a very nice environment. There's others, coffee shops that, you know, sometimes though you find places that advertise that they're cool, but then they're not. You know, those places do exist. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Thanks for saying whatever you said. And, you know, things are happening. Things are going on. I was it's an interesting night. It's been a day. It's kind of been raining off and on. It's stopped now. I'm not sure if it's going to start again. And then, tomorrow, let's see, I won tickets for doing karaoke at a live event yesterday. So I haven't been to a movie in a long time. And yeah, it's just Paul Rudd and Harry Styles and Power Ballad. That's the name of it. And so it's free. I'll get to go. This is an interesting area. Also, there's a really good deal. That's what I have to watch out for as far as, good deals to get something cheap to eat that's somewhat decent. Chipotle is having like a happy hour every day from Monday through Friday, I think it is, from 2 to 5 or something, somewhere around there, where every taco, it doesn't matter what protein you get, it's $2.50. So 2 tacos from should do the job, $5. Tomorrow we'll watch the movie, and then and then I got walking around. I got tickets to see the Tiny Desk concert at the Beecham, I think it is, downtown Orlando. I've never been to that club, so that'll be cool. There's 5 different bands playing. The Tiny Desk, I just saw a flyer, so get your free tickets. Apparently, if they're not free, they're $50. So got a pretty good deal there. That's for Thursday. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have a great time wherever I go. Yes, I'm always meeting people. I actually ran into a friend, Jason, that I met here a year ago, and he was from Dallas. And he was kind of in sad states. Last time he had just moved here, and he was kind of bumming out. But I saw him with a friend of his last night, and we had fun. We were over at Grumpy's doing karaoke late at night, and he was hamming it up, and he was looking a lot better. So I was really happy for him, and met his friend Crystal, who's pretty cool too. And we were doing duets, which I hadn't done with anybody, yelling into the microphone. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, so that's it. I'm going to close it out. And thanks for joining, and take it easy. And I'm going to see if I can change the settings. I think it has something to do with the settings. This is why I can't say anything on here. So I'll check that out. But take it easy. Have a good one.